Hi, today I will be talking about anxiety and types of anxiety disorders. Um, a little disclaimer here, I'm not an expert, and please don't diagnose yourself with the symptoms that I mention later because, again, I'm not an expert. I find this also from the internet, so I'm just going to share my story and also describing the types of the anxiety disorders. So, anxiety is basically a common thing that puts us in an unpleasant state. The feeling of anxious happens and is familiar to all people as it is a part of being human, but for some people, this feeling of anxious can become an intense fear that leads to anxiety disorders. Anxiety disorders cause excessive worry. It affects our thoughts, our feelings, behaviors, and even can cause symptoms on our physical appearances as well. However, disorders are treatable. Many people go to a therapist, take a meditation, and receive more social support. It might not be easy to be entirely recovered from anxiety disorders, but the important thing that we should keep in mind is that we cannot underestimate the existence of anxiety or other mental illness itself. Now, let's jump right into my story. I have ever been in a situation where I was worried about everything. I feel really anxious. I feared of failure, being judged, and I was just feeling empty most of the times. When I go to school, I feel like every other student is looking at me. I cannot consistently tidy up my room since I always feel tired. I didn't like looking at my school schedule because it always gives me a lot of pressure, but I can't do anything about it. I cried every single night thinking about what is wrong with my life and how my future would be. What if I fail? What if I become nothing? What if I die? And what will happen when I die? And I tend to be stressed and panicking at something I know I shouldn't have worried about. Well, to be honest, I still do most of it, like worrying, being anxious in this present time, but thankfully it's not as often as before. I actually don't know how to treat these symptoms properly because I have never been to a therapist. I also have this little problem at home, if I may speak more personally, that my parents don't really think I need a treatment. Even though I told them 1,000 times that I faced the symptoms, it's a stigma that is still happening in our surroundings up until now. Most people think there's no such thing as mental health issues. They would say, you're just being ungrateful, or you have to be more religious, and so on. Little did they know that there is no logical correlation between religion and mental health issues. It's the same thing as having a fresh wound on our knee, for example. Will it be gone immediately once we pray? No, we ought to treat it as well. So at that time, what I did was I read a book that suits my problems. I find a friendly mental issue pages on Instagram or Pinterest because there are so many uplifting posts for those who have been like me. And I tried to do some meditation and practiced deep breathing. I have also tried to pour all my thoughts into writing because I used to write on a diary since I was in elementary school. That helped me to calm down my mind a little. You can try to do those if you've ever experienced the same thing, or if you're too lazy to write, you can also try painting. It's calming and fun. Now, what are the types of anxiety disorders? Based on what I found on a YouTube channel, I made a conclusion that there are six anxiety disorders that we should be aware of and not ignoring the fact that some people might experience it. Number one is generalized anxiety disorder. The sufferers mostly cannot describe precisely what are the specific things they fear. They constantly worry, become anxious all the time, have trouble concentrating, and try so hard to avoid something, yet they have no idea what they're avoiding. Number two is separation disorder. People with separation disorder fear being left by their attachments, such as parents or maybe closest friends. If the patient was a kid, they tend to be clingy and has a regular habit of sleeping in the same room as their parents. The third one is social anxiety disorder or SAD. We should probably be aware of this type of disorder more because not everyone is able to socialize or face the public with ease. People with SAD avoid crowded places and they don't want to be seen when doing something in public. These symptoms actually happen to me a lot. And number four is panic disorder. Panic disorder mostly affects teens and young adults. People with panic disorder often experience panic attacks and they're having trouble to make themselves settle. Panic attacks are sudden, intense fear that come out of nowhere in instant. It comes without any warning. It can cause chest pains and difficulties when breathing because of the rapidly racing heartbeat. Number five is phobia. Have you ever met someone who suffers with phobia? Many people misunderstand this term to address something that they don't like or situation that makes them feel uncomfortable. Phobia is actually an extreme fear of specific objects or events that people with phobias will suffer every time they have to face the objects or being in the events directly. Number six, obsessive compulsive disorder or OCD. It's the same as phobia. People often mistook the definition of this anxiety disorder. They thought being neat and organizing things frequently make them an OCD sufferer, while in fact the real OCD sufferers take simple things such as washing their hands as an obsession and required activities that they do repetitively because they fear of something bad will happen if they don't. Well, in my opinion, as the world develops, I hope people can be more understand about mental illness because not every illness shows and it should be treated the way physical illness is treated too. Learning more about psychological problems also matters as it helps us to avoid the misuse of the term. And a little advice here, I think we need to support one another, be kind, and at this point, if it's possible, please help your friends that are in need. They might not have someone to talk to, so they just keep their thoughts locked inside their heads. And I can tell that it's sickening. Okay, so that would be all for today. I sincerely want to thank you for watching this until this very end. I hope everyone who is struggling with mental illness is doing okay. I know it might be hard, but just don't forget to smile. Thank you, and I hope you all have a good day.